Imagine waking up to waterfront views every single day, boating in your backyard, and still being just a drive from Northern Virginia. Sounds perfect, right? But here's the truth, living in Lake Anna isn't for everyone. Today we're breaking down the real pros and cons of living in Lake Anna, Virginia. From budget homes to luxury waterfront estates, so you can decide if this lifestyle is actually worth it.
Lake Anna is one of the largest freshwater lakes in Virginia, stretching about 17 miles with over 200 miles of shorelines. But what most people don't know is the lake is actually man-made.
And fun fact, it was supposed to take 3 years to fill, but thanks to heavy rainfall from Hurricane Agnes, it filled in just about 18 months. So yeah, you're literally living in what used to be farmland, turned into one of Virginia's most popular lake destinations.
We scoured the internet, we got all the questions people were asking about Lake Anna, so stick around, let's get into it.
All right, so let's talk about one of the biggest trade-offs, commute and job opportunities. Lake Anna sits between 3 major cities, Fredericksburg, Richmond, and Charlottesville, making it accessible but not exactly close. In fact, according to Lisa County, more than half of the residents commute outside of the county for work with average commute times over 30 minutes. So if you're working in Northern Virginia or DC, expect a serious drive. Now the upside, remote workers love it here. And locally, you'll find jobs in tourism, hospitality, construction, and county services with opportunities listed directly through the county government. So the big question becomes, are you trading commute for lifestyle?
And then you also can't forget that a lot of folks, this is their secondary home, this is their retirement home, and then there's also a lot of short-term rentals here on the lake. So now we're heading up to the state park. We're gonna go check that out. It's over 3,000 acres. Let's get after it.
All right, now we're headed to the crown jewel, Lake Anna State Park. With over 3,000 acres, this isn't just a place to swim through. The beach is fantastic for cooling off, but we love coming here to hit the trails. There are over 15 miles of them, ranging from easy strolls to more moderate hikes through the beautiful hardwoods and pine forests. And if you're a history buff, don't miss the visitor center. It's got some cool exhibits on the area's gold mining history. Yes, you can even try your hand at gold panning. It's a perfect place to start your day before the afternoon sun kicks in. So you can't talk about Lake Anna without mentioning the marina life. It's the heartbeat of the community, whether you're running a pontoon boat for the day or just hanging out to catch the local energy. It's where everyone congregates. The vibe here is honestly contagious. You'll quickly see why the social side of the lake is such a huge draw.
All right, while Chelsea's walking around doing her little tour, let's talk about some of the questions that the internet has on Lake Anna. Why is the water so warm? And again, I hinted that as well. It's a cooling pond for the reactor, so it is spitting out hot water. I don't know exactly the temperature it's spitting out, but I want to say it's around 100 degrees. So it's definitely warm. Another thing I should point out too was everybody has talked about like the shoreline actually being owned by Dominion Power, and that is very true. The Dominion owns the shoreline all the way around Lake Anna. One thing to note that since they do own the shoreline, whenever you're building a dock or modifying the shoreline by any means, you do have to get permission through Dominion, some sort of permit to access to, again, build that dock or alter the waterfront by any means. Like if we're talking about a bulkhead or riprap, something like that, help from erosion. So there is some public access, you'll have to check that, but that's why, again, we brought you Lake Anna State Park. Plus, again, there's a lot of short-term rentals that you can rent. And is it safe to swim? Absolutely. It's a great place to go swimming. As you saw, Chelsea jumped in. Water's warm, it's a beautiful day, great place to go. For the most part, when we're talking about water depth of Lake Anna is a pretty deep lake. There are areas that you're gonna be in 2 or 3 feet of water, but most of the time, if you're away from shoreline, because it is a man-made lake, when they went to go dig it, the middle is pretty deep. It can get well over 70 feet in some areas, and I'm sure down by the dam even deeper. But you have plenty of depth here. Now, when you get close to, say, the shoreline or some of the islands that we have around here, like Cocktail Cove, things like that, it will get pretty shallow, but at some point, you're gonna find that ledge where it does drop off. I do fish one little island, and it literally goes from like say 5 to 7 feet all the way down to 70, like a cliff. So that is something to note. Pay attention when you're in the water to make sure you don't go to any of those real deep areas. For the most part, I don't know of any sort of minimum or maximum size allowed on the lake. There are some big boats out here. The downside is you have multiple sets of bridges. So I kind of told you about like the down lake, middle lake, and then up lake. Really, they're divided by bridges for the most part. So you'll have clearance issues more than anything, especially if you're talking about like, let's say a sailboat. You're gonna have a hard time getting through any of these bridges. The 208 is probably the biggest one. It is the biggest one. Even that, you're probably not gonna get a dinghy sailboat in it. So you are gonna be limited on where you're sailing if you're a sailboat, but down lake would be a great idea because it's a huge portion of the lake and it's big, so you don't have to worry about tacking or jibing weirdly because of you're running out of room. Oh, okay, here's a great one too. Soil and septic inspections are non-negotiables on lake. For the most part, there's no public water and sewer. Almost everything, if not everything, on the lake is gonna be some sort of septic and well situation. That is a great question. If you're looking for public water and sewer, this is probably not the place to be. And that limits some people, especially if we're looking at like the short-term rental game and you're trying to get like, say, some crazy 10-bedroom house. Usually septics are not gonna go that big. So most septics are gonna be somewhere in a 3 to 5 bedroom range. So you do have to keep that in mind. You're gonna be on a septic out here and you need to pay attention to that. All right, guys, so we just stopped for our lunch segment, which we end up stopping at the Cove, one of my favorite places while we're here in Lake Anna. Also want to give a big shout out to Sturgeon Creek Marina for allowing us to launch there. It's a place that I always launch from when I'm here, when I'm going fishing or taking out family for the food or anything like that. So again, big thank you for them, and really good marina, really nice folks. Hang out, check them out. And kind of why people move here. So first off, let's talk about the breakdown of Lake Anna, right? We have Down Lake, which is down by the dam, deepest water, clearest water, also where the power plant discharges after it leaves the private side, which we'll talk about. And we have Middle Lake, which is right around that 208 bridge. A lot of folks know it because they drive across it all the time. And then we have Upper Lake too. So one thing you need to know is, so Lake Anna actually covers Spotsylvania, Louisa, and Orange County at the very upper end. And when we talk about Up Lake, that's where we're talking about. Something else you should know about Lake Anna. Lake Anna actually is a cooling pond or cooling lake for Dominion Power. So there's a huge nuclear power plant, which we have a couple shots of, and it's a series of 3 different cooling ponds. And those are actually all considered the private side of the lake. So you get public side and private side, public being the biggest section, but then there's a series of 3 different ponds that are the cooling ponds for the nuclear power plant. Those are private. There's no public marina. You have to live on the lake and to have a boat and enjoy that side. So a lot of folks that live here want the quieter side will go to the private side. Now, that being said, it is definitely warmer because it's coming out of the nuclear power plant. So you'll see a lot of times where it's 100 degrees over there for the water. It's like swimming in a bath water, and it never freezes either. No matter how cold it's gotten, we've always seen it pretty much anywhere, even on the public side from the power plant to the discharge, it doesn't ever really freeze. So we're here at the Cove. We're going to get into some real estate stats really shortly. But first things first, as always, we get bang bang shrimp or some sort of variation of it. And so that's what we're going to have some lunch right quick. And we still have to order food. All right, because we are a real estate channel, let's get into some real estate stats, right? I had to do some weird stuff on this one because we had to talk about 3 different counties, right? What I did was I drew a map around Lake Anna and I kept it to those 3 counties and I kept it pretty close. So some of these off-water properties are going to be within probably a mile or 2 of waterfront. And then obviously waterfront's going to be waterfront. So breaking it down both different ways. So let's get into non-waterfront properties. On average, over the last 360 days, the average sales price around Lake Anna is going to be $542, $376. That even matters. So right around $550 to get a non-waterfront property. Now, when we start looking at waterfront property, prices go up dramatically. The average waterfront in the last year is $1.6 million, with the max about 3.8 that's actually sold. Now, if we look at active, there are a couple active ones that are $4 million plus dollars on the lake right now active. But again, we're looking more for what's sold to kind of give you real data for comps in the area. Now, this is shooting of June 17th, 2026. So stats could vary, of course, depending on when you're watching this video. The average market on the days is actually pretty quick. We're not really in the town, so I am surprised. So the average stats about 69 days on the market to have the house under contract. And that's including the waterfront homes at 1.6. The average day is about 68. And then if we look for the average on the non-waterfront homes, about 60. So the market's moving pretty quick in the last year here at Lake Anna. In case you're wondering what the highest sales price rate currently, again, June, we're looking at 4.299 right now in the lake. $4.2 million for Lake Anna, and it's a heck of a home. Not gonna lie there. All right, guys, so that is gonna wrap up our lunch. Chelsea, what did you have?
So I had the Monster Club sandwich, and it was definitely a monster. I had to take it apart to eat it.
It was definitely a monster. And then I had the chicken bacon ranch wrap, which is good. And I've had burgers here. The Bang Bang Shrimp or TNT Shrimp here was really good.
Yeah, everything
Big
was
old
good.
shrimps.
On a hot day, I like a sandwich, like a cold cut, and that really
Yeah,
hit the spot.
It is super hot out here. So,
Yeah.
so that is going to wrap up our tour here in Lake Anna. Let's talk about some pros real quick. Obviously, we have the lifestyle, the waterfront, the lake living. And when we talk about some cons, we're talking more along the lines of if you are still commuting, but usually when you're living at lake, you're not really worried about commute, right? But
lake time.
yeah, so maybe the commute time or the job market could be some of the cons, but really, again, who cares when you're on the lake floating, right?
Yep.
So, all right, so that's going to finish up our tour. If you guys have any questions, you can always reach out to us. We'll see you on the next one.